안녕하세요. 여보세요입니다. 감사합니다. We're going to go ahead and try and tackle the Formula of Love album review, and it's a full album, right? So this is a long track list, but we've already covered 5 tracks off of this album. The Feels, which of course was that was the start of everything here on this channel. But in addition to that, Scientist as the other A-side with the video and everything. And we've also done a live performance of Candy. And we've also checked out Icon and Last Waltz. So all of those can be found in the Twice playlist back when, whenever it was that we actually got to covering those. So we'll do the same thing like with some other albums, just like with the Story Begins. Since we've already covered those tracks, we won't go back over them again. That way we can move on to the remaining 10 songs that will be on the album. And I also I don't really get into remixes. Maybe one day we'll do like a dedicated remix type of reaction or something like that, because they tend to, with some tracks, there's kind of like little remix albums where like they just did this with Set Me Free, actually. There's a little mini album that's like 7 different remix takes on it. So perhaps that'll be something we could maybe do someday. But for this one, we'll just try to do about maybe like 3. Let's see. Well, if we do 3, and then maybe 4, maybe we can get away with that. Just because it's 10, so we can go 3, 6, and then finish off the final video with 10. I'm actually super curious about this. Of course, this was like one of the best albums. It's certainly up there. You know what I mean, with from Twice's discography. And there's many songs that I'm curious about that I've been like, oh man, I've been waiting to hear them, and it's very interesting. Some of these sort of tracks on here, like Push Pull, Hello, and 1 2 3, that have that they're featuring like almost like subunits. You know what I mean? Like you have Gio-sana and Daeyeon, and then you have Nayeon, Momo, and Chaeyoung, and then you have Jonghyun, Mina, and Tsuyu. So that's really interesting. I mean, it's cool. It's like, you know what I mean? There's nothing, it's not a critical thing. I'm actually like super curious as to how these sound, right? These different sort of little groupings of the members. But we'll kick it off with Moonlight, just so we can get things started here. So let's check out Moonlight.
Your eyes are glowing in the dark, lighting the way to where you are. Ain't nothing pulling us apart when we're together. Diamonds are everywhere, they're all that I can see. Close season, close enough for you to be to me. I wanna be the air you breathe. Hold you forever. All the stars above got nothing on you, baby, and your love is shining like the sky. But all I want tonight, you and I, dancing in the moonlight, kiss you in the moonlight. your favorite recipe. Gotta bust up her energy. Yeah, yeah. Baby boy, you got my heart. Grabbing your love, your touch. Hope you don't mind. Trying to take a trip under the moonlight. You're the one that I want. It must feel so deep, like I'm in a dream, and I don't wanna wake up. And it's all because of you I'm sprung. All I think about is you and us. You're all I want tonight. You and I, dancing in the moonlight. Kiss you when the mood's right. Baby, I don't want nobody else but you and I. Dancing in the moonlight. Kiss you when the mood's right. Baby, I don't want nobody else but you. You and I, dancing in the moonlight. Kiss you when the mood's right. Baby, I don't want nobody else but you and I.
Very warm. That song has a very, very warm sound to it. Everything, like the bass it's very warm. It's almost soft, you know. It's definitely it's strong. It's a strong bass sound, but the way that it sort of sits in the mix, you know, even the way it begins, right, when the bass part sort of comes in, it has this soft, warm type of quality to it, as do the vocals. Some very nice upper register falsetto work. The little U's part in there, you know, it's a sequence of some falsetto sort of licks, and very like 80s dance, you know. Reminds me of so many things from Michael Jackson's Can't Stop Till You Get Enough, you know, Latin type of sounds too, like maybe some of that Gloria Estefan type of vibe. Like it's got these Latin jazz type of feels, also a little disco-y, you know. But the bass, and then the like it was that synth harpsichord that comes in during the, I think it's the post-chorus, is it? Or maybe it's the chorus. It's a cool phrasing too, because what's happening is the first half of the phrase is the vocal, and then that synth part is the second part of the phrase that sort of answers you and I, bim bum bum. Like it's the relationship between those two voicings there that creates the phrase structure. And it's very fun. It's very warm. Definitely a dance song. Yeah. Everything. Like the whole vocals. Every vocal part very warm. Everybody sort of finds like a certain, you know, part of their range. Nobody went too low on that song. You know what I mean? No, there was no like drop down in the vocal range. Everybody kept it a little bit lighter, a little bit loftier. The percussion is really good, man. There's some awesome fills in there. Like your kit sounds, they're very they keep the beat, they keep the dance beat going, and then there's all those nice little like conga drum almost sounds, you know, like these extra percussive instrument sounds in the mix to give it a lot of that flavor. It's definitely in 4. Very nice breakdown part too, right, where like almost everything drops out except for the kit and then the vocal, and then we start to get some of the piano voicing back in, the synth piano voicing back in, and a nice building the whole mix on its way to the last section, to the ending. And that's a fun song. There's lots. There's trying to take a trip under the moonlight, which is fun now because you have moonlight sunrise, right? take a trip to the Moonlight, like a little, you see like the connection there, the callback to the earlier track, which is off of this album. So there's definitely some fun elements to be appreciated now at this point, which, you know, actually reference this album, which is earlier. But it was a great track. Really, really a lot of that 80s dance energy. A fantastic mix. It's and when it starts, you know, you get the percussion that comes in, the drums, and it feels very Latin, you know, like very sort of Latin jazz, Latin dance. And then once you get hit with, like, especially the bass line, when the bass part comes in, it's a really fun bass part. There's some excellent like bass rhythms in there. That it's just a blast to play that. It's another one of these things, to play that bass part. Oh, that's such a groove, man. It's really, really fun. That's got to be super fun. That's got to be a really good time. But that's a fun track, man. That's really, really awesome. So it starts off with that Latin jazz feel, and then starts to bring in this 80s synth element to it. And there's even almost like, I think it's probably just mostly in the chord progression, but there's like a subtle disco flavoring to it also. It's not one of the overtones, you know. It's very, like I say, probably in the composition, in the chord, but there's a little bit of that, the dance part of it, that almost feels a bit disco-y as well. So a very cool blend of styles. I really do enjoy the way that Twice songs seem to like the blend of styles that you end up with, right? It's always very cool. It's just a fun aspect of it. They're mostly always like pop stylings, you know what I mean? But they work very well. It's always cleverly done. It's never too much. It's never too hard. It's always a very cool balance. So that was Moonlight. Now let's move on to Cruel. Cruel, I know, is Diane has the writing credit on Cruel. So this should be pretty good. I mean, you know, it'll be interesting. Oh, and also the fact that Moonlight was an English language song. I mean, you know, they sounded really great, man. It was super fun. You know what I mean? It lyrically, Moonlight it's got a lot of poetic stuff going on. A lot of these visual sort of, you know, lines in there. You know, you can easily see what it is that they're talking about. But there's interesting things in there, like, you know, you'd melt winter, just certain things, right, that are very much poetic. But let's see Diane's writing on Cruel, and, you know, just because there was no need for translation on Moonlight. But let's check this one out too, Cruel.
차가운 시선 속에 저 멀리 얼어붙은 불의 사이 아직도 난 내게서 벗어나질 못하니 아무렇지 않게 또 보란 듯이 난 잘 지내고 너의 예측과는 전혀 다른 모습이라 가혹해. You think I'm so cruel, but I'm just 해봐도 이미 어긋난 운명 끊어져 버린 걸 매정한 손짓 아래 흔적조차 떠난 걸 아무렇지 않게도 보란 듯이 난 잘 지내고 너의 예측과는 전혀 다른 모습이라 가혹해 You think I'm so cruel But I'm just doing all the things that you do Hey, you should put yourself in my shoes Like a fool, yeah, I'm cruel You think I'm so cool But I'm just doing all the things that you do Hey, you should put yourself in my shoes Like a fool, yeah, I'm cruel So cruel 굳어진 말투 So cruel 덤덤한 표정 I know it drives you mad So cruel 조각난 기억 So cruel 구겨진 가슴 I know it drives you crazy You think I'm so cruel But I'm just doing all the things that you do Hey, you should put yourself in my shoes Like a fool, yeah, I'm cruel You think I'm so cool But I'm just doing all the things that you do Hey, you should put yourself in my shoes Like a fool, yeah, I'm cruel
What is it? You can't touch Diane's pen? Yeah, you just... You really can't. That was incredible. The bass sounds, again, like... it's always good, okay? It's always good. But these bass lines, because I'm remembering now, the feels, excellent bass, like just one of the most fun and most interesting bass sounds. So funky, right? So groovy. And it already, you know, same thing in Moonlight, same thing in Cruel. This is such a good song, dude. This, what I really like is the way that space is kind of handled here and played with. A lot of fun stuff with compression as well. There was, you know, when the beat gets dropped out and then boom, cuts, boom, you know, everything comes back in together. It's so fun. And then there's one section where almost everything in the mix gets super compressed, right? And starts to feel like it's contained in this little can, kind of, and then it just like pops, right? And the whole mix comes back in, and lots of swirling sort of ambience. The opening was like, what? Because there was some lo-fi piano chords that were being played, and I thought, okay, almost sounding like a little bit ballad-like, and then all of a sudden, and I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? Like, it was really fun, you know. It just kind of like catches you off guard, and then really a fun vocal work also. Like, everybody was so on point. It must be really fun, right, when some, you know, so let's say Diane writes one of the tracks. It's gotta be fun for the other members, you know what I mean? Like, you're all, like that, because it's really cool. It's really cool when you write something and then you're like, okay, you kind of submit it. So here, what do you think about this, right? Like, is this something we could do? And then they go, okay, let's do this. And then when it comes time to actually do it, to actually pull it off. Let's say, there's something, even if like you're just the other member, the other, group member or however, and you get your part and you go, okay, because like your friend, your group member, right, who wrote it. So there's something like special about it, and it has to be just the most fun experience to do that. But I loved the lo-fi sort of filter on the piano parts in this. Oh, the strings also, another subtle little disco element, right? But those quick little flourishes on the string sounds, right? Like going up, hitting that long sustained note at the top, and just, man, these mixes are so clean. They're like super fun. They're super busy, but they're all so clean. This is like, man, something that I'm hearing now across everything on this album so far. I mean, I just think of the things that I have heard, and and this was something also on the Ready to Be album. The bass, like they treat it so well, from the way it's written to the way that it's handled in the mix, the production behind it, everything. And it really gives these songs their drive, that it just carries the movement of these songs throughout the progression, and it just makes it so much fun. But this is great, dude. And what Dion's writing too, like, oh man, I may seem cruel, but I'm just doing what you do. Man, dude, like it's and it's fun too, because it's, the lines are sung almost sweetly, almost like, because it's so high, right? It's a high note. It's a little bit of that falsetto register coming in again. But the things that are being said are just like, they're not delicate. They're not like, it's quite cutting, actually. Man, it's really cool. It's really cool. It like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get like the lyrics, the actual translation of the lyrics and everything, to go over the song. But just going off the hooks, just going off the chorus part, it's like, wow, man, that's it. It's very Diane. It's like, it's very, very, to say something that is so cutting, but to deliver it in this super light, like almost sweet type of way. It's like, ooh, man, you're cutting deep, man. You're cutting deep. It's great. Phenomenal bass. Excellent production. Excellent use of like creating the space. The use of reverb, compression. Really pretty straightforward counts. You know what I mean? There it was. I was counting once we got like the percussion that comes in. Once we get the drums that come in, and you have, it's in 4, and you have essentially, it's almost was like 12 bars in some instances, to get through like a section, and then more like 8 bars phrasing for the chorus. But it was really fun drum rhythms that were going on. You would count, and when you get to the 4th measure, the 4th bar, you would hear this little hat, and it was like, okay, there it is. There's the 4, and then you count the next, and the next 4 measures to come after that, and you'll hear it again, and they're like, oh, okay, there it is. There's the phrasing, right? There's the cadence, so that I know what this phrase structure is. And again, very, very danceable, but also extremely the lyrics, like the lyrics it's something else, man. It's good. It's good, man. It's Dayan. It's very, very Dayan. But it's fun. It's a super fun song. Okay, I think actually, where we at? 27. No, let's just do, because I know Real You, this is Geo, right? And then Fall in Love Again, that's Nayan who wrote that. Okay, since we're at 27, almost 30 minutes already, probably because I was talking too much in the beginning, but let's do Real You, and then we'll cut to part 2 and pick it up with Fall in Love Again. Okay, here we go.
Hey, stop right there. 네 모습 다시 떠나봐. Look at yourself. Yo, 걸음걸이 속에 모든 본성을 숨긴 허세 그 다음. Oh my, it's obvious, it's obvious. 가식적인 웃음 뒤엔 난 다 보여. 단 아무것도 없는 나. No, I ain't falling for it. 솔직한 상태로 날 다시 다루기로 해줘. Baby, show me the real you 진짜 널. 두 얼굴은 너를 마주하지 않게 되면 밀고 당길 비려. 어떻지 웃기지 마 모르지 않아 real you. 나 또한 숨기지 않을게 real me. 사심 없는 미소를 지을 때 눈 맞춤해서 올 때 그게 진짜야 that's our real love. 떠올려봤어 진심 그대로만의 우리 모습. 하루 be in love with me. 알도 모르 긴장감이 싫지만은 나는 감정이 간지러울 때 So show me the real you. 웃기지 마 모르지 않아 real you. The real you. 나 또한 숨기지 않을게 real me. 사심 없는 미소를 지을 때 눈 맞춤해서 올 때 그게 진짜야 that's our real love. Yeah. I want them from you. 감추지 마. Oh yeah. I want them from you. 그게 너야. Oh yeah. 처럼 굳이 맞춰라게 뻔히 보이는 장난에 쉽게 속지 않을 테니 no more. Yeah.
Drums and bass, man. The percussion on this is insane. There's like so many different, there's at least 3 different groupings of percussion sounds. There's basically, your kit sounds, like kick, snare, which are synth. And then there's like a whole other pad sounds, the electronic drums. And then there's another very light percussion sound that's panned right. So your kit sounds are pretty much centered. There's a bunch of electronic drums that are left, and then there's some other almost like wood blocky types of percussive hits that are panned right. And there's crazy drum fills. so many change ups, dude. The rhythm keeps changing. Like it comes back to the main groove for the chorus section, but there's so much happening, dude. Like each verse almost is like its own little pattern, its own little thing, right? And then brings you back around to the main groove and the core, and then the next verse section you get something totally different. And the bass on this one, so it's a change up, because I think there might be it's mostly 808, right? This is mostly 808 synth bass that they actually do some very interesting things with. It comes way up in at least one section, and almost becomes definitely very rhythmic, almost carrying a melody, and then like there was maybe a little bit in there, like towards the end, ba-doom dum doom dum, that could be played. That could be boom dum boom dum. It could actually be on somebody going up the string there, but it could also be a synth. That could be a sample. Whereas a lot of the other tracks so far, it feels Moonlight, Cruel, those bass lines were very much, that you could play that. You could sit there and just play all those different bass parts. But this one was definitely like using the synth bass, but it was still again handled with the same amount of consideration and cleverness, like in the mix, in the production. It came in like Moonlight, you know what I mean? It came in with almost the same thing going on in the drums, and then it just took off from there into something like it was going this way and it was going that way, and occasionally bringing you back around for the chorus part. But man, it's a wild track, man. It's really fun. Like, it's incredibly fun. The guitar in this one, the rhythm part was featuring this electric guitar. It was very much a funk guitar style of playing. Like all these funk rhythms that were in there, and it was panned right. The bass would come up higher in the dynamically, like in the left, but it was also present in the right. It was more space for the rhythm guitar section over here on the right side. But super fun. What a crazy fun track, dude. It's kind of all over the place, but in a good way, like not in a chaotic way. But it's fun, dude. It's like crazy feels going on. So many different percussive, like almost like three different percussion mixes, all within the same song. It's wild, man. It's wild. Real You. I just with a lot of these tracks, so far the ones we just did, Moonlight, Cruel, Real You, they almost like tricked me a little bit, like they started off and I'm like, okay, but only for the first like 2 bars or something. Then after that they like snap into this other groove that I was not expecting, this other rhythmic pattern, and this mix that I just was not indicated at all by the way the first couple of bars come in. So it's actually really fun, sort of subverting the expectation, from the first little bits that I hear. I'm like, what in the world? And then just such a drastic change up. But this one especially, just kept, it'd be fun. I think more like to listen to. Obviously you could dance to it, but the change ups and all the rhythms and everything are just, like, oh my goodness, like, and then, okay, like it moves around so much, but still manages to keep its continuity, and bringing you back around to a super, like, groove in the chorus section. It's a blast. This song is a blast. This is, it's fun to start to put it all together, it just, from the songs that I have heard, I was like, okay, and everyone tells you, oh, Formula of Love, dude, like, it's so good, like, you trust me, like, just and it's not as if I doubted it or anything, you know what I mean? It's not like I can't be that good. No, I know it's gonna be that good, like, I know it is. But once you start listening to it, and once you start getting into it, it's like, it's still like you have that same, like, oh, dude, this is good, like, this is like, no, you don't understand, like, this is good, it's fun. It's fun just to actually, like, do it finally, to actually sit down and just listen to it all, because I've been waiting to do this for so long. I should have got to it earlier, but there's just so much stuff. Okay, so let's see. Next one, since we've already done Last Waltz, let's see. It'd be Fall in Love Again. That's a Nyan songwriting credit on that one. Then we'll go into Espresso, another one that's like, man, I should have done this one a while ago. Let's see. Fall in Love Again, Espresso, Rewind. And that'll be part 2. Part 3, we'll do Cactus, which I know Gio wrote that one. And then we got Push Pull, Hello, and 132. Yeah, that'll be fun. That should work. Alrighty. So this was part 1 of the Formula of Love album review. Knocking out the tracks that didn't already have a reaction to them. So again, that was Scientist, Icon, Last Waltz, and Candy, and The Feels. All those have their own reaction videos that can be found in the Twice playlist. So we'll continue on, and should just be 2 more parts so that we can complete the entire album review. But so far, Formula of Love, yeah, like it all adds up, right? Like it does. I see why this album, I hear why this album was so successful, and every song has been incredibly good, and also such a good time. These are fun. Fun it's one of the ingredients in the formula of love. It is, conceptually, just to start, tying this together here. But fun, you gotta have fun. It's gotta be in there, because that's across everything so far. These are all fun, even the ones from before. Everything we listened to today, there's something fun about each one, in its rhythms, and mostly carried by its bass lines, and a lot of its percussion work, a lot of the drum rhythms, and then of course the vocals over it. Everything so far has been great, man, with like a lot of sweet falsetto sounds in the vocals. So yeah, it's just all of these elements together keep making everything fun so far on the album. Fun is one of the ingredients in the formula of love. So we'll continue on and see what some of the other factors or ingredients in the formula are.